and bon dia to everybody. I'm really very pleased to be at this Galicia Innovation Days. As Aida was saying, my name is Garbine Guiu, and I'm part of the European Commission, the Director General for Research and Innovation, and I'm in the Industrial Transition team. As Aida was saying, I mean, I was amazed to see the agenda you have in front of you right now. So I will try to be conscious of time and to be short enough so that you can have your coffee breaks as well deserved. So I will do a short presentation. As Aida was saying, I'm representing the cluster 4, which is digital, industry and space. But I mean, this is an enormous cluster, so I really cannot cover the whole thing. I propose to make a zoom on the industry part, and then clearly during the day, you are going to have plenty of things on digital. I think I hear a space too. So this is going to be completed by the later on speakers. And now the most difficult part to think for me is going to be able to work with the presentation. And Lorenzo, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm trying to move it to the next one. Okay, it works. So basically what I will try to do here is to give you an overview. First, to give you a flavor of how did we move from what is the policy priorities, so the European policy priorities, and how from there we made a strategy plan and how we have then come with the work program and the topics. Sometimes I have the feeling that people think that the topics are just coming like that from nowhere. So I think it's important that you kind of understand which is the process behind it. And this is true for the whole Horizon Europe. So, okay, it goes about just this cluster. Then, as a second point, I wanted to tackle on the Green Deal dimension of the cluster digital, industry and space. I can say here already that the industry part is the one that is looking to this Green Deal dimension. And the third thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is the European partnerships. The feeling I've got is that whereas these European partnerships, which can be private-public or public-public, are the driving force for certainly our cluster, these are kind of instruments, animals that are not always very well understood. So, okay, I will try to walk you through a little bit so that you have a better idea of what we are talking about. I try to move to the next slide. Lorenzo, you can help me because, okay. Okay, very good, thank you. So in European policies, European policy priorities, when the van der Leyen Commission started, the very big piece was the Green Deal. And following the Green Deal, we have had many policies which are dear to us that has come to the scenario, being the industrial strategy, being the chemical strategy for sustainability, being now lately the zero pollution recovery package, many things on digital. So we really have got many EU policy and policy priorities that have been tabled the last 2 years. So starting with this, what we did is to prepare a strategic plan. Basically, we took all these priorities and we saw, okay, which are the main common denominators, what we should do as key strategic orientation so that we have as research and innovation an impact into these policies. So we came with what was called the strategic plan. And if you are sharing my presentation, you will see that I always are coming with links here. So if you are interested on something more specific, you can always go and pick the information you need. So basically here, for cluster 4, we have from all the key strategic orientations we came with, there are 3 which are really very near to us and to which we are directly supporting. The first one is promoting an open strategic autonomy. And I think the COVID crisis has shown us how important the strategic autonomy of Europe is, so that we are not really reliant so much into other countries. And how do we want to promote this strategic autonomy is by leading the development on key digital, but also enabling and emerging technologies, sectors, and value chains. This is very much on the focus of what we do in Cluster 4. Then the second key strategic orientation is making Europe the first digital enabled, circular, climate neutral, and sustainable economy. Again, super important for industry. And the last one, but certainly not the least, and one of the most difficult ones, I guess, is creating a more resilient, but also inclusive and democratic European society. So these are the main key strategic orientation for us. And we have built the work program taking into account that we really need to have a clear input into those. So I'm trying to move to the next slide. Okay, and I will skip this one because I already talked about it. So we can move to the next one. Okay, okay, I think I see now how it works. Okay, let me, okay, right. So during the day today, I'm sure you are going to talk plenty about destinations in the work program. So basically what means the destinations? In each destination, we have looked at the strategic priority and each destination in the work program and the topics that are beneath are answering to one of the strategic priorities. For example, this destination we have on climate neutral, circular and digitalized production, which is called Twin Transition, is clearly answering to this clear strategic orientation, the first one, which was making Europe the first digitally enabled, circular, climate neutral, and sustainable economy. So you always have a pair between a destination and then what is the key strategic orientation. Okay, I think I got how to move the slides now. So basically, I will not go through this one in detail, but just to remind you that the budget for the Cluster 4 for the next 7 years is around a little bit more than 15 billion euros, and that we have it divided, all these budgets, each destination has a fixed budget. Okay, and just to close this first point, something that is coming quite a lot when I'm discussing with people that are preparing proposals, etc. So I thought it may be worth highlighting it. In Horizon Europe, all the topics we're talking about expected impacts. And in Horizon 2020, I'm sorry, we were talking about expected impacts in the topics, but in Horizon Europe, we are talking about outcomes in the topics. And this, I see that this sometimes is confusing people. So just a little reminder, when you're having your topic, at the end of the topic, at the end of the project, what you have is the expected project outputs, and this is the sphere of control, which are the deliverables of your project. Then you have what is called a bigger sphere, which is a sphere of influence. So you have dissemination and exploitation on your project, and through that, you reach what is called the expected project outcome. So the sphere of influence, what you achieve in your project, please dissemination and exploitation. And this is what we are talking about in Horizon Europe. For each topic, we are asking expected outcomes. So what is coming out of the project plus what could come out, taking into account dissemination and exploitation. And this is different of what we were talking about in Horizon 2020 when we were talking about the project expected impacts. Here we are talking about the sphere of interest. So we are talking about wider effects on the society, but also on the economy, on science, which is the outcome of your project. So this is the main difference between the expected outcomes and the expected impacts, the difference between what was Horizon 2020 and what we are asking now for Horizon Europe. So with this, and I'm conscious of time, I'm kind of close what I wanted to address first, which was, okay, how we are coming with the topics, take into account the European policy priorities. The second point I wanted to touch upon is the Green Deal. And as I was saying, we see that in Cluster 4, the Green Deal is mainly on the shoulders of the industry part. So one of the first questions would be, okay, who is leading in green technologies nowadays in the world? So if we take the report on 2020, it's clear that nowadays Europe is leading on research and innovation for the green transition at the level of the top cited scientific publications, but also at the level of patent applications. And this when we compare it with China and with the US, which are the most direct competitors. The challenge is going to be here is not only who is leading now, but who is going to be leading in the next 3, 4, 10 years, because we see that all direct competitors are really catching up. So one of our jobs in the industry part is also to be able to keep this competitive advantage. And we are working in many different fronts, but I just wanted to highlight 2 examples. The first example is what we are doing in hubs for circularity. And the second example is going to be of what we are doing with safe and sustainable by design, chemicals and materials. In the hubs for circularity, this is part of the partnership on processes for planet. And the idea here is that we have first of a kind demonstrator plants, so really are plants which are the first of a kind, but really already commercial size, and where we are implementing industrial symbiosis and urban industrial symbiosis. So it can be symbiosis between industries. For example, the one is using the waste that others are generating, or symbiosis between industries and the urban area. Can be the urban area, for example, using the hot water that is produced in one industry and they are using for heating, just kind of simple examples. So the aim here will be to collectively industry and citizens and regions demonstrating the leap towards circularity and carbon neutrality in the use of the resources. And when we are talking resources here, we are talking about feedstocks, energy and water, and this in a profitable way. So I can tell you this is wow to organize between industry, regions and local authorities, but really was. So we are already working with industry on this, and there was a first workshop on April 2021. And here again, you will have the link if this is a topic that interests you and you want to know a little bit more of what we are doing there. The second example is the safe and sustainable by design chemicals and materials. This is really enormous work we are doing. This is part of the chemical strategy for sustainability. So you are looking at this strategy, you will see the mention of safe and sustainable by design chemicals. We are starting this huge job, and it's a big group, but not only from the Commission, but also international stakeholders. And here what we are doing for the moment is mapping the development of sustainable by design criteria. So we are working at the criteria of what could be, how a chemical or material could be considered sustainable. Not when the material is there at the end, we start looking at sustainability, but already for the moment of the design. And this really helps plenty then on reducing the time required to have a product, which is cost effective at the innovation level, because for the beginning we have to think at the moment of the design what we need. There will be products then that will go faster to the market. It will be safer for everybody. And of course, we are thinking about consumer acceptance, but not only their acceptance, but also to have products that are good for the environment. So this will be the 2 examples of what we, among many other things that we are doing on the Green Deal. And with that, I close the second point I wanted to focus on. And the third one, it will be the European partnerships in the cluster. Here you see the number of partnerships. I'm not even counting, but I think there are around 10. I don't know how familiar you are with European partnership, but let's say you have European partnerships which are called co-programmed. These are private. So we're working with the private partners, and then the Commission. I think in the co-program, which is the important thing for you to remember, is that all these partnerships and all the topics linked to these partnerships, you have them on the Horizon Europe work program. You will not even realize sometimes that they are part of the partnership. They are there, they are listed with all the other topics. And these are all this co-program one. The Article 185 is what is called, will be a public partnership. So it's a partnership between the European Commission and the member states. And the very important one is metrology. So metrology is a public partnership. And you don't see the topics here in the Horizon Europe work program. They will be published in different work programs. So if you are interested in that, you really need to go outside the Horizon Europe work program. And what they are called Articles 187 is private public partnership, so partnership between the European Commission and the industry. But the difference with the co-programmed is, again, you are not going to see these topics in the Horizon Europe work program, but you will need to look into the specific work programs of these partnerships. I'm not going to go through all this, but I think what is important for the co-program ones that are the main ones for us in Cluster 4 is that how they are implemented. First, we have the same budget that is coming from the union and the same budget that is coming from the private partners. So for example, for Processes for Planet, is more than 1 billion that is coming from the union. And then the topics, you will find them on the Horizon Europe work program. But then the partners have also to contribute, and they have the commitment to contribute with 1 billion euros. They have, is their responsibility, and what we agree is an annual work plan where they are saying, okay, and these are the additional activities we are going to undertake as private partners. What is important here is that there is a private association that provides a back office. So they are the ones that somehow are linking the Commission with all the private partners. For example, again, if I take Processes for Planet, there are 10 different sectors that are contributing to this partnership, going from steel to chemicals, to cement, to ceramics. There are many. So we need someone that is bringing them together. So the topics you are going to find, and as I was saying, on our work program. But I think what is also important, if apart from coming and presenting maybe proposals for these topics, you really want to be more involved in these partnerships. What is very important to highlight here is that what we are requesting to partnership is openness and transparency. So the private partner must assure that it's a growing participation on this partnership. So if you are interested to participate, it's open. You are welcome to come. Then they need to have a governance structure that results in a high level of openness and transparency. Again, they need to show what they are doing. And then a transparent process in consulting their constituent entities and other relevant stakeholders. So we are very closely monitoring these two. Very briefly, because I'm conscious of time and maybe I'm taking a little bit too much. If I take as example the Processes for Planet partnership, here the idea is to decarbonize energy-intensive industries and make European industries world leaders in circular economy and clean technologies. It's built on what Inspire projects in Horizon 2020, and we are developing the next generation of process technologies. So what we are aiming for 2050, first is to have climate neutrality, so zero emissions in the process industry, circularity, so near zero landfilling and near zero water discharge by 2050, and then competitive EU process industry. So basically, what we're trying to do here is develop technologies that we need to achieve all these ambitions by 2030, so that we are able to have then these technologies on the market by 2050. So that's why here, when we are talking about the partnership and we are talking about TRL, so technology readiness levels going until 9, we, Horizon Europe, are not able to finance TRL 9. We are only going to 7 and in exceptional cases 8. So that's why we need also these partnerships with the industry, because they, through their additional activities, are the ones that are going to be able to finance these TRL 9s. So for the structure, again, I just taken it as example, so you see how it works and how open it is. It's a partnership between the European Commission. We are Director Generals for Growth and Research and Innovation. And then the process industries, there are 10 sectors, as I was mentioning before, but it's not only the industries. The partnership is also open, okay, to SMEs, to research centers, to universities, to NGOs, innovation agencies, etc. And whatever work program and topics we put together, it always goes to the program committee. Program committee are the representatives of the member states. So whatever program we put together, the member states are giving us the okay to move. So at the end of the day, how we are putting these topics together are the same as on the final approval, at least are the same as the normal topics in Horizon Europe. I will not go through this, but it's just to remind you, when you see the topics in the work program, you are not even going to realize that they are part of the partnership unless you go at the end and here it mentions that this process is for planet partnership, but it's open to everybody that wants to submit a proposal. And another second partnership is the Made in Europe, is the green, digital, and flexible manufacturing. Here we are looking quite a lot at digitalization, automatization. European industries are not using big data, and SMEs are far less digitalized and automized than it could be. And we are working quite a lot also on resilience of the supply chain. Again, COVID crisis has shown us how important this is to take on board. For the Made in Europe, again, the topics are the same as the normal topics. You are all going to say Made in Europe as part of the topic, but open to participation to everybody. So conclusions of the 3 points I wanted to put on the table. First, that we have a more impactful work programs under Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe than Horizon 2020, because we are really looking first at policies before we put the program together. The industry part is really driven by the Green Deal and related strategies that I was mentioning here. And then that the European partnerships are the driving force of the cluster, and that you are all welcome to participate in these European partnerships. You are an industry, or you are a private center, or you are a GNO. We really need to have this dialogue going on. Last thing here is that, and this is news because it's not publicly announced, but we have the meeting yesterday. So the topic presentation and discussion for cluster 4, so where we, commission, colleagues, etc., are presenting the topics, are going to be on the 30th of November and 1st of December. So you are welcome to follow these presentations, of course. And well, for me, thank you for having invited me here. I hope okay, it was interesting, or at least I was able to show you something you didn't know. And if you have any question or anything you may need, I leave you there with my email address. Thank you very much.